Hey, welcome to Starbound. I'm Daniel Pierce, and I'm going to be your narrator today. Nearly 500 supporters get early access to our stories. That's including Sunspire Academy and Frarian and Rimiki. If you would like to unlock early access and support our new episodes and series, tap join below and become a Starbound member today. Now, let's get into today's story. Hunter Walsh slouched against the weathered wooden counter of the beachside surf shack, watching with half-lidded eyes as a group of wide-eyed alien tourists struggled to understand the concept of undertow.
So, you're saying the water pulls you?
Asked a Treblian, its translucent membrane pulsing with confusion.
But water is not sentient on this planet, correct?
No, not sentient, Hunter drawled. It just hates tourists specifically. Has a vendetta against anyone paying premium rates for oceanfront accommodations. He tapped a laminated safety chart. See this diagram? This is you. This is the ocean. This is you being dragged out to sea because you ignored the safety flags I'm required by law to tell you about. The three Treblians huddled closer, their translucent bodies quivering. One of them raised an appendage.
But how does the water know we are tourists?
Hunter pinched the bridge of his nose. That was sarcasm. The ocean doesn't... Look, just stay in the designated swimming areas. Wear your flotation devices, and if you feel a strong pull, swim parallel to the shore, not against the current. Your bodies are 70% helium sacs? I mean, you'll probably just bob around like balloons anyway. Behind him, Hunter heard the familiar click, 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 click of disapproving mandibles. Without turning, he could picture his boss perfectly. 8 feet of rigid exoskeleton compound eyes gleaming with perpetual disappointment, and forelimbs folded in what passed for arms crossed among the kestric species. Mr. Walsh. Morlax's voice vibrated with particular frequency that meant Hunter was about to get lectured. Perhaps a demonstration of proper safety protocols would be more effective than your colorful analogies. Hunter swiveled on his stool, offering Morlax his most innocent smile. Just adapting my teaching style to the audience, boss. Interspecies communication and all that. Morlax's mandibles clicked rapidly, the kestric equivalent of an exasperated sigh. The Treblian delegation is here for the Galactic Science Summit. 2 of them are xenobiologists. I doubt they need instructions delivered as though they were, what is your term, spring breakers? Oh, sorry about my colleague. Kai interjected, sliding smoothly in front of Hunter. His fellow surf instructor always made these interventions look effortless with his easy smile and natural diplomacy. Hunter's humor sometimes gets lost in translation. Let me demonstrate those safety protocols properly. As Kai led the tourists toward the water's edge, Hunter turned back to organizing the rental equipment, feeling Morlax's eyes still fixed on him. Your shift ends in 30 minutes, Morlax said. Try not to offend any more potential customers before then. Wouldn't dream of it, Hunter muttered, as his boss click-clacked away across the wooden deck. Kai returned a few minutes later, dropping onto the stool beside Hunter. You gotta ease up on those jokes with the non-human customers, brah. Not all species get it. If they're gonna colonize our planet for their fancy resorts and conferences, they should at least learn to appreciate our sense of humor. Hunter replied, but there was no real bite to his words. Hey, speaking of your sparkling personality, Kai said, scrolling through his comm unit. Have you seen this? First ever interspecies surf competition next month, right here on North Shore. Open registration, major sponsors, prizes, fat wad of cash. Hunter snorted. What? So, Hydraxian can win by literally becoming one with a wave? Or maybe one of those four-armed Pelsians? Yeah, super fair competition. They got all kinds of modifications and categories to level the playing field. Says here, they've been developing specialized board tech for different species. Kai nudged him. Come on! You were the best surfer in our dorm before you decided your precious GPA didn't matter. My GPA's fine, Hunter said automatically. There was just a misunderstanding about whose propulsion design was whose. Uh-huh. Kai didn't pursue the familiar argument. Anyway, registration closes tomorrow. Just saying, that money would solve some problems. Hunter waved him off, but glanced at the promotional holo Kai had pulled up. The purse was significant, enough to clear his mounting student debt and get him back into his marine engineering program for the fall semester with a clean slate. But competing against beings who literally breathe underwater or had evolved on aquatic worlds, it seemed like a cosmic joke. During his break, Hunter checked his bank account and grimaced. 3 payments behind on his loans, and the university's Bolsar's office had started sending not-so-subtle reminders about registration deadlines and outstanding balances. The Surf Shack's vid screen flickered to life with a mandatory broadcast, interrupting his thoughts. A sleek Cortesian with metallic blue scales was announcing the details of the competition in an overly enthusiastic voice. A truly equal opportunity for all sentient species. The Galactic Sporting Commission has worked tirelessly to ensure fair competition through specialized board modifications. Registration is still open for the next 24 hours. Don't miss your chance to make history in the first ever. Turn off that garbage, Hunter called to the Shack's AI. The screen obediently went dark, but not before Hunter had seen the prize amount again. It really would solve everything. As he gathered his belongings at the end of his shift, Morlax approached, carapace gleaming in the late afternoon sun. I noticed you watching the competition announcement, his boss said, multifaceted eyes unreadable. Hunter shrugged. Hard not to when it's blasting on every screen from here to Honolulu. I hope you're not considering entering, Morlax continued, shifting his weight from one set of limbs to another. A sign of concern in Kestric body language that Hunter had learned to recognize. Why? They got embarrassed to find establishment of surfs up rentals and lessons? Hunter slung his bag over his shoulder. Morlax's mandibles worked silently for a moment. The competition will be intense. Many of these species entering have natural advantages in aquatic environments that humans simply do not possess. Wow, thanks for the vote of confidence. It's not about confidence, Hunter. It's about biological reality. The Rules Committee has been working to equalize competition, but Morlax's antenna flattened against his head. Humans are remarkably fragile. Your kind lacks redundant organ systems, protective exoskeletons, or regenerative capabilities of any significance. Something about Morlax's tone, genuine concern rather than his usual exasperation, made Hunter pause. But, as always, when faced with actual emotion, he retreated to his safe ground. So, you're worried I'll get hurt and leave you short-staffed for the tourist season? I'm touched. Really. Morlax clicked his mandibles in frustration. This is precisely why communication with your species is so challenging. I'm attempting to express concern for your well-being, and you respond with this... Morlax straightened to his full height. The competition is potentially dangerous for humans. That is all I wish to say. As Morlax walked away, Hunter called after him. "Good thing I wasn't planning to enter then." It was only after the words left his mouth that Hunter realized he'd just made his decision. If Morlax thought humans thought he was too fragile to compete, then Hunter Walsh was abso-fucking-lutely going to enter that competition. The isolated cove on the north side of the island was Hunter's secret spot, far from the tourist beaches and accessible only by a treacherous hike down the cliff face. The small crescent of sand offered pristine waves that broke perfectly over the volcanic reef. Now, as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Hunter paddled out alone, ignoring the loud beach AI's warning about deteriorating conditions. A storm system was moving in, creating larger swells than usual. Perfect for practice, terrible for safety. Exactly how Hunter liked it. As he pushed through the breakers, he ran through the competition specs in his mind. He registered that morning, partly out of spite and partly out of desperation. The other human competitors were mostly professional surfers, people who hadn't derailed their lives with poor life choices. But none of them understood hydrodynamics and fluid mechanics the way Hunter did. If he couldn't outmuscle or outskill the competition, maybe he could outthink them. As the sun touched the horizon, the swells grew larger. The beach AI pinged his comm unit repeatedly with evacuation warnings, which Hunter ignored. He had always pushed himself hardest when alone. No audience meant no witnesses if he failed. A massive swell began building in the distance, much larger than the others. Hunter spotted it early, positioning himself perfectly. This was the kind of wave that could showcase what he was capable of, even if no one was watching. As the wave rose to its fullest height, at least 15 feet, Hunter paddled hard, feeling the familiar surge as the board caught the wave's energy. He popped up to his feet in one fluid motion, cutting across the wave's face with precise movements. The water curled over him, forming a perfect barrel. Time seemed to slow inside the tube. Water spinning around him in mesmerizing patterns. This was the moment surfers lived for. The perfect harmony of human and ocean. A dance of physics and instinct. Hunter emerged from the barrel with a burst of speed, setting up for an aerial maneuver off the lip of the wave. He had done it hundreds of times, but never on a wave this size. The extra power would give him more height, more rotation, more of everything. He hit the launch point and soared upward, board leaving the water completely. One rotation, two, but something was wrong. The wind had shifted, catching his board at the wrong angle. For a suspended moment, Hunter hung in the air, already knowing what would happen next. The landing was catastrophic. His board connected with the water at the wrong angle, nose diving straight down while his body continued forward. The impact drove the board back against his ribs with a sickening crack. Before he could process the pain, the wave slant him downward, tumbling him through the water like a rag doll. Disoriented and in agony, Hunter felt his board leash snap. The churning water drove him deeper, slamming him against the reef. Sharp coral tore through his wetsuit, raking across his back. His shoulder wrenched as he instinctively tried to protect his head. Underwater, vision blurring, a stab of genuine fear cut through Hunter's usual bravado. He couldn't tell which way was up. His lungs burned. The thought flashed through his mind that Morlax had been right. Humans were fragile after all. His head broke the surface for a moment, allowing a desperate gasp before another wave pushed him under. Something hard struck his temple, and darkness swept in.
He's healed already.
The voice pierced through Hunter's consciousness, high-pitched and alarmed. He tried to open his eyes, but one seemed glued shut. The other revealed a blurry room filled with two moving shapes. "No more human healing response," came another voice, lower and calmer. "Superficial lacerations have begun preliminary closure. But make no mistake, this one is severely injured." Hunter attempted to speak, but only managed a groan. The effort sent sharp pain through his rib cage. "The patient is regaining consciousness," said the calmer voice. "Sir, can you understand me?" Hunter forced his functioning eye to focus. A Mentulian doctor hovered over him, two of his eye stalks trained on his face, the other monitoring displays Hunter couldn't see. "Loud and clear," Hunter rasped. "What's the damage?" The doctor's eye stalks rippled in what might have been surprise at his coherence. "3 broken ribs, dislocated left shoulder, now reduced. Laceration across your back requiring 20 stitches, minor concussion, and various contusions. You're fortunate the Beach AI alerted emergency services when you failed to respond to evacuation warnings." Hunter tried to nod, then thought better of it as pain lanced through his skull. "So when can I leave?" All eye stalks converged on him in apparent shock. "Leave? You have potentially life-threatening injuries, mister. We need to monitor you for internal bleeding and, well, that's where blood is supposed to be, so I think I'm fine," Hunter interrupted. "What? No, current scans are stable, but then I can go. I know the drill. Rest, painkillers, follow up if anything changes." Hunter attempted to sit up and immediately regretted it as stabbing pain radiated through his torso. Another doctor entered, this one a floating, gelatinous being with visible neural networks pulsing beneath its transparent outer membrane. Hunter recognized the species as Aquarian, one of the naturally aquatic races participating in the competition. "Is this the human surfer?" the Aquarian asked, its voice resonating from specialized vocal membranes. "Fascinating. These injuries would be fatal to my species. Complete structural integrity failure." "Thanks for the encouraging prognosis," Hunter muttered. The Mentulian doctor's eye stalks drooped in what appeared to be exasperation. "Yes, Dr. Flotel, this is Hunter Walsh. He was practicing for the interspecies competition when the accident occurred." Dr. Flotel's entire body rippled with interest. "Remarkable. And you expect recovery in what time frame?" "With proper rest and treatment," the Mentulian began. "I'll be fine in a week," Hunter cut in. "Humans bounce back. It's our thing." Both alien doctors stared at him with their respective visual organs. The Aquarian pulsed rapidly. "A complete cellular and structural recovery from critical damage in a single planetary rotation cycle. Impossible." "Figure of speech," Hunter said, wincing as he shifted position. "But I will be competing next month, if that's what you're asking." The doctors exchanged looks that transcended species differences. The universal medical professionals' "this patient is delusional" expression. "We strongly advise against that," the Mentulian said firmly. "While your external wounds may appear healed within a few weeks, internal damage to bone and tissue requires significantly longer." "So I get it," Hunter interrupted again. "I'll be sore. I can handle sore." The truth was, he was already in agony. Each breath felt like being stabbed from the inside, and his back burned as though still being dragged across the reef. But the alternative wasn't an option. Not when he was already 3 semesters behind where he should be in his degree program, watching former classmates progress while he rented boards to tourists. Dr. Flotel was still vibrating with fascination. To even consider competition after sustaining injuries that would permanently disable most sentient species. Is this typical human behavior, or are you an aberration? Hunter managed a painful smile. Bit of both, probably. The Mentulian made notes on a datapad. We're admitting you for overnight observation, minimum. No arguments. They added as Hunter opened his mouth to protest. Your injuries warrant monitoring, regardless of your species' tolerance for self-destruction. Hunter had just finished sending a message to Kai about his board when he heard a soft knock. Looking up, he saw a figure in the doorway, unlike any species he had encountered before. She had a slender bipedal form covered in smooth skin that seemed to shift colors subtly. Currently a soft teal with darker patterns flowing beneath the surface. Delicate gill-like structures pulsed at her neck, and large liquid eyes dominated a face with minimal features. She wore what appeared to be a specialized environmental suit. Hunter Walsh? Her voice had an unusual harmonic quality, as though multiple tones spoke at once. I'm Laurie Novash, with Galactic Sports Network. May I come in? Hunter instinctively tried to sit up straighter, triggering another wave of pain. Depends. Are you here to interview me or study me like those doctors? Laurie entered, her movements fluid and graceful. A bit of both, perhaps. I'm covering the interspecies competition, focusing on the physiological and cultural differences between competitors. She gestured to his injuries. And you've just become exponentially more interesting. Lucky me, Hunter said dryly. Nothing like nearly drowning to boost your dating profile. Laurie's skin rippled with blue patterns, a reaction to his words, though Hunter couldn't interpret its meaning. The medical staff mentioned you sustained injuries that would be fatal to several competing species. Yet, you're already conscious and communicative. The human recovery angle is compelling. Hunter noticed a small hovering camera drone following Laurie, capturing their conversation. So I'm today's medical curiosity. Step right up, see the amazing healing human? More like today's walking contradiction, Laurie replied, settling into a visitor's chair with liquid grace. Most species with your level of physical fragility evolved extreme caution or defensive capabilities. Humans seem to have neither, yet you've colonized hostile environments across your planet and now beyond it. We're stubborn. Hunter shrugged, then immediately regretted the movement. Clearly, Laurie said, her gill structures fluttering slightly, a gesture Hunter found oddly captivating. The competition committee is already debating whether humans have an unfair advantage due to your recovery capabilities. That caught Hunter's attention. Advantage? I'm the one in the hospital bed. Precisely why I wanted to interview you. Laurie leaned forward, her large eyes reflecting the room's light in mesmerizing patterns. Most species either don't get injured because they have protective adaptations, or they suffer permanent disability or death from injuries like yours. The human ability to sustain severe damage and recover functional capacity is unusual. Hunter found himself unsure how to respond. He had never considered his basic humanity an advantage before. So what you want me to explain? How humans heal? I'm an engineering student, not a doctor. I want your perspective as a competitor, Laurie clarified. How do you view your own recovery process? Is this pain and healing cycle typical for human athletes? Is the pain worth the glory? Hunter started to deflect with his usual sarcasm, but paused, struck by the genuine curiosity in Laurie's expression. It hurts, he admitted, surprising himself with the honesty. Everything hurts, and it's going to hurt for weeks. I'll compete anyway, because that's what humans do. We push through the pain because the alternative means giving up. He gestured to his bandaged torso. This will heal, but it's not magic. It's just biology playing out very, very slowly from your perspective. Laurie's camera drone zoomed in slightly, capturing his expression. And the psychological component. Many species find the idea of continuing function while damaged to be disturbing. Hunter couldn't help but laugh, which sent fresh bolts of pain through his ribs. Welcome to the human condition. We're always a little bit damaged, but we just get used to it. The competitors' meeting was held in a massive open-air pavilion overlooking the famous pipeline break. Hunter moved stiffly through the crowd, hyper-aware of how visibly injured he still was compared to the other beings present. His torso was wrapped in smart bandages that administered targeted medications and supported his broken ribs. But nothing could hide his awkward gait or the occasional wince when he turned too quickly. Representatives from at least 20 different species mingled in the space, some requiring specialized environmental support, others seemingly at home in Earth's atmosphere. Hunter spotted a group of Hydraxians, their liquid crystal bodies shifting form subtly with each movement. Nearby, a cluster of gaseous Pelsians compared notes on board designs, while several insectoid Thackerans tested specialized breathing apparatus. Kai found him by the refreshment table, eyebrows shooting up at Hunter's appearance.
Dude, I heard you got wiped out, but you look like you got into a fight with a thresher and lost.
Yeah, I know I'm pretty, but please keep your pants on, Hunter replied, carefully lowering himself into a chair.
Just some scrapes and bruises. Nothing but a scratch. Right, and I'm secretly a Venusian slug princess.
Kai sat beside him.
The medical shuttle pulled you unconscious from the water. Beach AI said your vitals flatlined for 20 seconds.
Hunter waved this away.
Faulty equipment. I'm here, aren't I?
The head of the Galactic Sporting Commission, a tall Alderian with silver skin and elaborate ceremonial markings, took the central platform.
Welcome, competitors and representatives,
the commissioner began.
We gather to make history. The first truly interspecies sporting competition on the planet Earth. After years of research and development, we believe we have created a fair framework for beings of vastly different evolutionary backgrounds to compete in the ancient Earth tradition of wave riding.
Hunter tried to focus on the speech, but pain was radiating through his body in increasingly difficult-to-ignore waves. He should have taken the stronger painkillers the doctor had offered, but they made his thoughts fuzzy, and he needed to be sharp for this meeting. The commissioner continued.
Before we proceed to division assignments and qualifying round schedules, we must address a matter raised by the Competition Ethics Committee.
A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Hunter straightened slightly, interest momentarily overriding discomfort.
The committee has brought forward a motion regarding human competitors specifically,
the commissioner said, gesturing to a panel of various species seated to one side.
Evidence has been presented suggesting that humans possess an unfair biological advantage in competition context due to their unusual recovery capabilities from physical damage. What?
Hunter blurted, loud enough to draw stares. A Thackran representative rose, chitinous exoskeleton gleaming in the sunlight.
A human competitor sustained catastrophic structural damage 3 solar cycles ago. Damage that would permanently disable or terminate most sentient competitors. Yet, he attends this meeting already healed, reportedly intending to continue competition. This recovery capability represents an unprecedented advantage in a competition where physical risk is inherent.
Hunter realized with a jolt that they were talking about him. His accident had somehow become a competition issue. The absurdity struck him so forcibly that he stood, ignoring the protest from his ribs.
No, I have not healed already. I am in constant pain. I am full of medications just to be able to function. There is nothing advantageous about this.
The commissioner raised a hand for quiet.
This is precisely why we've called this matter for discussion. It appears there is significant cross-species misunderstanding about the nature of human injury and recovery.
Laurie Navash stepped forward from where she had been recording the proceedings. If I may, Commissioner, my publication has been researching this exact phenomenon. Human healing is not the instantaneous regeneration some species are perceiving it to be. It's a prolonged process of tissue repair that requires significant energy expenditure and often results in permanent alterations to the organism. Hunter shot her a grateful look as she continued.
What appears to be an advantage,
Continuing function while damaged, is actually a necessary evolutionary adaptation for a species without redundant systems. The debate escalated, with various species offering perspectives on what constituted fair competition given vastly different biological realities. Some argued that immediate withdrawal after any structural damage should be mandatory for all competitors. Others suggested that the ability to continue despite injury was itself a legitimate competitive factor. Finally, when Apelsion suggested that humans simply competed in their own segregated division for their own safety, Hunter had enough.
Look,
He interrupted, louder than he had intended.
the whole point of this competition is to bring different species together, right? To see past our biological differences. But the minute those differences become inconvenient, you want to start excluding people?
The pavilion quieted as he continued.
Humans don't have exoskeletons. We can't breathe underwater. We can't shift our molecular structure to ride inside a wave. All we've got is this.
He gestured to his injured body.
The ability to get knocked down and get back up again. It's not an advantage. It's just how we survive.
His voice had taken on intensity that surprised even himself.
I'm not competing because I think being human gives me some edge. I'm competing because I love surfing. I desperately need the money, and I'm stubborn enough to even try, even though most of you could probably outperform me in your sleep.
Hunter hadn't noticed Laurie's camera drone hovering nearby, capturing every word. He finished with a grimace that might have been an attempt at a smile.
So, if the committee wants to disqualify humans for being too squishy yet persistent, go ahead. Just seems like a missed opportunity to learn something about each other.
The commissioner studied Hunter for a long moment before nodding.
Thank you for that passionate perspective. The committee will take all viewpoints under advisement and announce a decision before the qualifying rounds begin.
As the meeting broke into smaller discussion groups, Hunter finally allowed himself to sink back into a chair, exhausted and in throbbing pain. Kai appeared at his side, offering a hydration pack.
That was either the bravest or dumbest thing I've ever seen you do,
His friend said quietly.
and I was there when you tried to surf during that hurricane. Whew,
Those were just tropical storm conditions.
Hunter muttered automatically, accepting the drink.
Laurie approached, her skin flickering with rapid patterns of blue and green. That was illuminating. Would you be willing to share more of your perspective on human recovery? I think there's an important educational opportunity here. Hunter looked up at her, noting the way her gill structures seemed to flutter more rapidly than before.
What'd you have in mind?
Document your healing process, she suggested. Show the galactic community what human recovery actually looks like. The pain, the limitations, gradual improvement. It could change how other species perceive humans.
A reality show about my broken ribs. Sounds thrilling,
Hunter said, but without his casual caustic edge. The idea had merit, both for addressing the competition issue and for getting to spend more time with the intriguing journalist. Think of it as setting the record straight, Laurie countered, her skin shifting to a deeper blue that somehow conveyed earnestness. Right now, half the competitors think you're some kind of regenerating superhuman, and the other half think you're a reckless biological anomaly heading for self-destruction. Hunter couldn't help but laugh, immediately regretting it as pain lanced through his side.
and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
He nodded slowly.
All right, I'm in, but fair warning, human healing isn't pretty.
Few important things are, Laurie replied.
All right, day 7 of Hunter Walsh not actually superhuman,
Hunter announced to Laurie's hovering camera drone. He was sitting on the beach near his apartment, early morning light casting long shadows across the sand.
Today's fun fact: humans can't regrow digits, so I'm keeping all these attached.
He wiggled his fingers at the camera.
The medical scan yesterday showed my ribs are still very much broken, but they've started the calcification progress to rebuild, which is why, he gestured to the smart bandages wrapped around his torso, I still look like a mummy and move like I'm 90 years old.
Hunter had been documenting his recovery process for a week now, with Laurie compiling the footage into regular updates for the Galactic Sports Network. To his surprise, the segments had gained significant traction, not just among those following the competition, but in the wider interspecies community. Can you demonstrate your current range of motion? Laurie asked from behind the drone. Hunter carefully raised his arms to shoulder height, then tried to rotate his torso, stopping with a wince.
That's about it. Better than last week when I could barely get out of bed. Worse than I'll need to be to actually surf.
Laurie's skin rippled with what Hunter had come to recognize as thoughtful patterns. Over the past week, he'd begun to intuitively read her color changes. Deep blues for concentration, swirling greens for curiosity, flashes of yellow for amusement. He still couldn't decipher the meaning of the quick purple patterns that occasionally rippled across her skin. And the pain level? She asked. On your human scale. Hunter started to give his standard deflection, then stopped himself. The whole point of this exercise was honesty about the human healing experience.
6 out of 10 right now,
he admitted.
Down from what was probably a 9 when it first happened. Medications help, but they also make my thoughts fuzzy, so I'm taking less than prescribed.
A common theme in your recovery, Laurie noted, moving into frame to sit beside him on the sand. You consistently prioritize cognitive function over pain relief. Is that a personal choice or a human tendency? Hunter considered the question.
Both, maybe. Humans generally don't like feeling mentally impaired, even to reduce physical suffering. For me specifically,
He paused, surprisingly willing to share what he normally kept private.
my brain's all I've got going for me. Academic screw-up or not, I need to feel like I can think clearly.
Laurie's skin pulsed gently for a second.
Your species fascinates me,
She said finally.
You possess such contradictions. Physically vulnerable, yet psychologically resilient. Individually weak, but collectively transformative of your environments. And you,
Her large eyes focused on him.
you specifically, embody many of these contradictions.
As they prepared to try actual water practice in the gentle shallows, a commotion further down the beach caught their attention. A surfer was executing impossible aerial maneuvers on waves that should have been too small to generate such height.
Who is that?
Laurie asked, her journalist instincts clearly engaged.
Vex Rakonen,
Called a voice behind them. Hunter turned to see Kai approaching with a knowing look.
champion from Lorethia. Low-gravity homeworld. Word is, he's the favorite to win the interspecies competition.
Hunter studied the distant figure with growing suspicion. The moves were impressive, certainly, but something seemed off about the way the board responded. As if on cue, Vex completed a final aerial maneuver and rode his board directly onto the beach, approaching their small group with casual confidence. Up close, Hunter could see why Vex had a growing fan following. The Lorithian had a humanoid appearance appealing to Earth sensibilities, tall and lithe with bronze skin tones that shifted subtly in the sunlight. Combine that with just enough alien features to be exotic rather than unsettling.
Impressive demonstration.
Laurie said, her professional persona engaging as her drone drifted toward the newcomer. Vex's mouth curved in what appeared to be a practiced smile.
Just a basic warm-up. Nothing compared to what we'll be showcasing in the competition.
His attention shifted to Hunter, eyes narrowing slightly at the visible bandages.
You must be the human everyone's talking about.
The way he said it made Hunter's injuries sound like a parlor trick.
Hunter Walsh,
He replied with forced casualness.
nice board. Custom design? Cutting edge.
Vex confirmed, running a hand along the sleek surface that seemed to ripple subtly at his touch.
Designed specifically for Lothorian's biomechanics.
As Vex turned the board, Hunter noticed something unusual. A small series of ports along the base, partially concealed by decorative elements. They looked suspiciously like neural interface connections, though he couldn't be certain without a closer examination.
And you?
Vex continued, turning his attention to Laurie with a shift in posture that even Hunter recognized as flirtatious.
You must be the famous Laurie Novash. Your coverage at the Centaurian Games was exceptional. I'm honored to be in your focus now.
Laurie's skin rippled in purple, but her professional demeanor remained intact.
I'm particularly interested in how different physiologies approach the same challenge. Your adaptation to Earth's gravity and wave dynamics must require significant adjustments.
Nothing I can't handle.
Vex replied with another practiced smile.
Perhaps I could demonstrate more, personally. A private interview, maybe.
An unexpected surge of annoyance shot through Hunter.
We're actually in the middle of something here,
He said, gesturing to the practice board.
Journalism happening. Very important.
Vex raised what passed for eyebrows on his smooth face.
Of course, I wouldn't want to interrupt your rehabilitation.
He turned back to Laurie with a slight bow.
My offer stands. I'm staying at the North Shore Resort, penthouse level.
With a final smile that managed to exclude Hunter entirely, Vex returned to the water.
Well, he's equal parts hot and annoying as hell,
Kai muttered once Vex was out of earshot. Hunter was still focused on what he had glimpsed on the board.
Did you see those ports on his board? They look like neural interface connections.
Laurie's skin darkened with interest.
Neural interfaces would violate the competition's biointegrity rules, wouldn't they?
Exactly, Hunter said. The rules specify that all equipment must be physically controlled, no direct neural links or biomechanical bonding to boards. Kai looked skeptical.
You're suggesting he's cheating? The guy's a 6-time champion on his home world.
I'm suggesting something didn't look right, Hunter replied. And I've designed enough experimental marine tech to recognize interference ports when I see them. Laurie's drone drifted back toward them.
Would you be willing to help me investigate? As a marine engineering student, you'd recognize technical violations that I might miss.
The thought of spending more time with Laurie was appealing, but Hunter's motivation went deeper. If competitors were using illegal tech to gain advantages, it made the committee's focus on human healing all the more absurd.
I'm in,
he said.
Where do we start?
The investigation began with Laurie conducting seemingly routine interviews with various competitors, while Hunter, officially assisting as a local technical consultant, observed their equipment up close. Most boards appeared to comply with regulations, featuring only approved modifications for different physiologies, additional grips for multi-limb species, specialized weight distribution for those unusual centers of gravity, waterproofing for electronic-sensitive beings. But several boards, particularly those from competitors sponsored by Galacticor, showed subtle signs of advanced tech that went beyond the rules. Microscopic ports, unusual power signatures, and components that seemed to activate only when in direct contact with their owners.
Oh, this goes beyond one competitor,
Hunter told Laurie as they reviewed footage in her temporary office at the North Shore Media Center.
It looks like Galacticor has quietly provided enhanced boards to at least 5 different competitors, including our friend Vex. We need more definitive evidence. The board storage area at the competition venue should have all the registered equipment.
That evening, using Laura's media credentials to access the venue, they made their way to the equipment storage facility. Hunter's ribs protested every moment, but the investigation had given him purpose beyond his own recovery, and he pushed through the discomfort.
There,
he whispered, pointing to a section marked with Galacticor's distinctive logo.
Those are the boards we need to check.
Laurie kept watch while Hunter examined the specialized equipment, taking detailed scans with the device he had modified from university lab equipment before his academic fall from grace. The neural interface ports were there, cleverly disguised but unmistakably to someone with Hunter's technical background.
Got it,
he said, transferring the scan data to his comm unit.
These aren't just standard neural feeds either. They're full biomechanical integration ports. The board essentially becomes an extension of the user's nervous system.
Laurie's skin darkened with excitement.
That's definitely against regulations.
As they prepared to leave, a security alert suddenly blared through the facility. Hunter's heart dropped as he realized they'd triggered some kind of silent alarm.
We need to go, now!
They hurried toward the exit, but Hunter's injuries slowed their progress. When security drones appeared at the main doors, Laurie made a split-second decision.
The water access,
she hissed, pulling him toward the back of the facility where doors opened directly onto the beach for easy board transportation. They burst through the doors and sprinted across the sand, or rather,
Laurie sprinted while Hunter moved as quickly as his protesting body allowed. When the security drones followed, Laurie grabbed his hand. "Into the water." "What?" Hunter gasped. "My species is aquatic. I can help you. Trust me." With security closing in, Hunter had little choice. They plunged into the ocean, Laurie supporting him as they dove beneath the surface. Her gill structures expanded, and to Hunter's astonishment, she pressed her face close to his, her gill membranes creating a small pocket of oxygenated water around his mouth and nose. The improvised breathing system was strange, but effective, allowing them to remain submerged as the security drones searched the shoreline above. Hunter felt lightheaded, partly from the limited oxygen, partly from the intimate proximity to Laurie, and mostly from his aching bones. When the danger had passed, they surfaced far down the beach. Hunter gasped for air, his ribs screaming in protest from the exertion and submersion. "That was... oh," he began, then doubled over as pain knifed through his side. Laurie's expression changed instantly from triumph to concern. "Hunter, what's wrong?" He couldn't answer, the pain too intense to form words. Something had shifted inside him. He could feel it, a wrongness that went beyond his previous injuries. The swim and dive had aggravated his broken ribs, possibly causing one to move in a way that it shouldn't. "I think," he managed between gritted teeth, I think I need help." The world began to swim in and out of focus. He was vaguely aware, Laurie supporting him, her cool skin against his as she helped him toward the shore. Her voice seemed to come from very far away, speaking urgently into her comm unit. "Emergency medical. Hunter, internal bleeding suspected." The last thing he remembered was Laurie's face above his, her skin pulsing with patterns he had never seen before, rapid, urgent formations that somehow conveyed more fear than he had thought possible for someone he had known only a short time. "Stay conscious," she was saying. "Hunter, focus on my voice. Help is coming. Stay with me." But the darkness pulled him under, more completely than the ocean ever had.
Absolutely irresponsible, even by human standards."
The voice penetrated Hunter's returning consciousness, familiar clicking consonants sharpened by obvious agitation. Morlax. Why was his boss here? The tissue damage was already severe. The additional strain caused a displaced rib fragment to perforate.
"I'm familiar with human structural vulnerabilities, thank you."
Morlax interrupted the medical voice.
"What I do not understand is why a supposedly intelligent human would engage in infiltration and evasion activities which in such a compromised condition."
Hunter forced his eyes open to a scene that momentarily confused him. He was back in a medical facility, but not the same one as after his surfing accident. This room was smaller, or specialized, with equipment he didn't recognize. Morlax stood rigidly by his bedside, carapace gleaming under the medical lights, while Laurie hovered anxiously nearby, her skin muted to subdued blue eyes and grays. "He's awake," Laurie said, moving quickly to Hunter's side. Hunter tried to speak, but found his throat dry and raw. Laurie carefully helped him sip water through a straw.
"How long?" he managed. 18 hours,
Morlax answered, mandibles clicking rapidly.
"You suffered internal bleeding from a displaced rib fragment. Had Mrs. Navas not contacted me instead of emergency services, you would be in a public medical facility and officially disqualified from the competition."
Hunter's foggy brain struggled to process this information. Why would she call you? Laurie wrapped her hands around herself. "You said earlier you didn't want official medical attention because of the competition rules. I made a judgment call.
Fortunately,
Morlax continued,
I maintain a private medical facility for my own species' needs that is equipped for emergency treatment of various physiologies, including human.
Hunter looked between them, trying to understand. You have a secret medical facility? And you decided to help me because... Morlax's compound eyes reflected the light in faceted patterns.
Because despite your persistent irrationality, I do not wish to see your opportunity extinguished. The competition means something to you beyond mere sporting achievement.
The unexpected understanding in his boss's voice caught Hunter off guard. Before he could formulate a response, Morlax continued, his tone shifting to something Hunter had never heard from him before, something almost vulnerable.
My species mates for life,
Morlax said quietly.
My mate was injured during an expedition on a non-kestric world. The damage seemed minor by our standards, a small fracture to the exoskeleton. She insisted it was not serious enough to seek immediate treatment.
His antenna drooped.
The fracture allowed bacterial infiltration. By the time she acknowledged the severity, systemic infection had set in. I lost her because neither of us took the injury seriously enough.
The room fell silent, except for the soft hum of medical equipment. Hunter found himself without words. All his usual sarcastic defenses inappropriate in the face of Morlax's revealed grief.
I have observed you consistently minimizing your injuries,
Morlax continued.
This is why I opposed your participation in the competition, not because humans are inherently fragile, but because you specifically refuse to acknowledge your physical limitations.
Hunter swallowed hard.
I didn't know about your mate. I'm sorry.
Morlax's antenna twitched in acknowledgement.
Now you understand my concern. However,
he straightened to his full height.
I have a potential solution to your current predicament.
He gestured to a small case beside the bed that Hunter hadn't noticed.
This contains kestric medical technology designed for emergency exoskeleton repair. It has been adapted for use on endoskeletal species in rare circumstances. It would accelerate your bone knitting process and tissue regeneration significantly.
Hunter blinked in surprise.
You'd let me use your species' technology? There is a complication,
Morlax noted, mandibles clicking softly.
Using non-human medical technology would technically violate the competition's biointegrity rules, the same rules you were investigating others for breaking.
The irony wasn't lost on Hunter. He'd be breaking the very regulations he was trying to enforce. So it's either use alien tech and be a hypocrite, or withdraw from the competition because of my injuries.
There is a third option,
Laurie interjected.
We complete the investigation, expose the cheating, and petition for a competition delay while the rules are reviewed.
Hunter looked between them, realizing for the first time how much both cared about what happened to him, each in their own way. The revelation was humbling. He'd spent so long pushing people away
with self-sabotage that he'd forgotten what it felt like to matter to others. "I'll use the tech," he told Morlax, "but only enough to stabilize the internal damage, not for full repair or any performance enhancement." Morlax's antenna raised in what might have been surprise.
"A measured approach from you. Perhaps the injury has affected your brain function after all."
Hunter couldn't help but laugh, though it sent twinges through his partially healed ribs.
"Don't get used to it. Once I'm back on my feet, I'll return to being the irresponsible human you know and love."
The Kestric medical technology was unlike anything Hunter had experienced. Rather than the slow, painful healing he was accustomed to, the device Morlax applied worked with disturbing efficiency, knitting his displaced rib back into position and sealing the internal damage within hours. By the day of the competition, Hunter and Laurie had refined their plan. Laurie would position her drone strategically during the qualifying rounds to capture evidence of the neural interfaces activating during performance. Hunter, using his technical expertise, had created a scanner that could detect the specific energy signatures the interfaces would emit when active. As the final qualifying results were being tallied, Hunter noticed Morlax in urgent conversation with several committee members near the judging platform. Their compound eyes and antennae periodically turned in his direction, confirming his suspicions that he was the topic of discussion. Vex had qualified first, as expected, with several other Galacticor competitors also advancing to the finals. When the announcer moved to the podium to present the qualifying results and finals schedule, Hunter and Laurie exchanged a nod. It was time. Laurie's media credentials gave her access to the announcement area. As the announcer finished reading the qualifying results, she stepped forward with professional confidence.
"Excuse me,"
she said, her voice carrying through the sound system.
"Before we proceed, I have critical information regarding competition integrity that requires immediate attention."
The crowd murmured with interest as Laurie's drones projected a holographic display showing the evidence they'd gathered: neural interface activation, energy signatures, and comparative performance analytics.
"Multiple competitors are using prohibited neural interface technology,"
Laurie stated clearly.
"This represents a clear violation of biointegrity rules and creates an unfair advantage unrelated to natural ability or skill."
The announcement area erupted in chaos. Committee members rushed forward, some attempting to cut the feed, others examining the evidence with visible alarm. Competitors turned to one another in confusion or, in some cases, guilty recognition. Hunter stepped forward, scanner in hand.
"The technology allows direct neural control of the boards, effectively creating a cybernetic extension that no non-enhanced competitor could possibly match."
Vex pushed through the crowd, his usually composed expression twisted with anger.
"This is ridiculous! You have no proof!"
"Actually," Hunter interrupted, holding up his scanner, "we have definitive energy signature readings from your board during performance. The neural interface activates most strongly during your aerial maneuvers, creating what your own technical specifications would call a synergistic biomechanical feedback loop." The head of the ethics committee raised his hands for silence.
"These are serious allegations that require formal review. We will need to examine all evidence thoroughly before—"
"I think not," came a new voice. A sleek corporate representative in Galacticor insignia stepped forward. "What you are witnessing is simply the next evolution in adaptive sporting equipment, scheduled for official announcement after the competition."
"Scheduled to be revealed after you've rigged the results, you mean?"
Hunter countered.
How many of your sponsored athletes actually know they're testing prototype tech that breaks the competition rules? The question struck a chord with several competitors, who turned suspicious gazes toward their supposedly custom boards.
The finals will be postponed pending full technological review,
The Alderian announced finally.
all competition boards will be impounded for examination.
A roar of reaction swept through the crowd. Hunter caught Vex's gaze across the chaos. The Lorithian's expression was cold with fury.
You've just made a serious error,
Vex said when he managed to approach them as the crowd dispersed.
Galacticor doesn't appreciate public embarrassment.
Neither do competitors who were manipulated into testing illegal tech without their knowledge. Vex's smooth features twisted with disdain.
Says the human who used alien medical technology to heal. Yeah, we know about your little secret treatment. The ethics committee will be receiving full documentation within the hour.
The committee hearing took place in a conference room overlooking the competition beach. Hunter sat beside Laurie, with Morlax providing unexpected support from his other side. Across the table, Vex and the Galacticor representatives watched with barely concealed hostility.
Both cases represent technology used outside permitted parameters,
The committee head noted.
however, their context and purposes differ significantly.
A heated debate ensued regarding the distinction between medical recovery and performance enhancement. The Galacticor representatives argued that healing technology provided an unfair advantage by allowing competitors to recover from injuries that would sideline others. Hunter's team countered that the neural interfaces directly enhanced performance beyond natural capability, while medical technology merely restored normal function.
The intent matters.
Laurie stated.
Hunter sought medical intervention for a life-threatening condition, not competitive advantage. Galacticor deliberately engineered technology to circumvent natural limitations and didn't disclose this to the competition organizers or even most of their own sponsored athletes.
The committee deliberated privately for nearly an hour, while both parties waited in tense silence. When they finally returned, the Alderian head spoke with formal gravity.
The committee has reached two distinct conclusions. Regarding the neural interface technology, we find clear violations of biointegrity regulations. All competitors using such technology are disqualified, and Galacticor's sponsorship is suspended pending review.
The corporate representatives immediately began to protest, but the committee head continued unperturbed.
Regarding Mr. Walsh's use of medical technology, we find the circumstances mitigating but still in violation of pure competition standards. Mr. Walsh is disqualified from this year's event, but faces no further sanctions.
Hunter had expected this outcome, but the confirmation still stung. The prize money was gone, along with his best chance at returning to his engineering program next semester. Morlax approached, his rigid posture somehow conveying both disappointment and resolve.
While this outcome is unfortunate, your actions demonstrated integrity I had not previously observed in you, Hunter.
High praise coming from you, Hunter replied, but without his usual sarcasm.
Indeed,
Morlax continued.
which is why I have a proposition. Pacific Rim University has approached our business about collaborating on adaptive surfing technology for students with disabilities. They require someone with both engineering knowledge and practical surfing experience to serve as research liaison.
Hunter blinked in confusion. Wait, are you offering me a job?
A position that includes tuition coverage and academic reinstatement.
Morlax confirmed, antenna twitching slightly.
Contingent upon your maintaining acceptable academic standing, of course.
For perhaps the first time in his adult life, Hunter found himself genuinely speechless. After a moment, he managed, "Why would you do this for me?"
Because talent should not be wasted due to poor decisions, and because you have demonstrated growth. My mate would have appreciated both your stubbornness and your eventual wisdom.
The unexpected kindness from his formerly cold boss left Hunter struggling for composure. I don't know what to say except thank you.
You can thank me by not requiring emergency medical intervention again anytime soon.
Morlax replied, but there was an unmistakable warmth in his clicking undertones. After Morlax departed, Laurie's drone hovered nearby, recording her final segment on the competition controversy. Once the recording finished, her skin rippled with purple patterns Hunter had come to anticipate whenever they were alone. My coverage of this story has been picked up by several major networks, she said. They offered me an expanded role reporting an interspecies cultural exchange. That's amazing, Hunter said, genuinely happy for her despite his own complicated feelings. You deserve it. Laurie's gill structures fluttered gently. It will involve significant travel, but Earth remains my primary base for the foreseeable future. Her large eyes held his gaze. I find I have research interests here that extend beyond professional curiosity. Hunter felt that now familiar warmth spreading through him. Any specific research subjects in mind? Perhaps one, she admitted. A particularly stubborn example of human resilience, who I'm not quite finished studying. The rescheduled competition took place a month later, with significantly revised rules and categories based on recovery capabilities rather than species divisions. Hunter watched from the beach, his body finally healing properly, the slow, human way. Beside him, Laurie lounged and relaxed as they shared a rare day off from their respective new positions. Her reporting schedule and his university research kept them busy, but they had fallen into a comfortable routine of finding time for each other between commitments. Apparently they're adding a cyborg division next year, Hunter remarked, watching a competitor with visible mechanical enhancements execute a perfect aerial. For those who want to use neural interface tech, but with full disclosure. The scandal created unexpected opportunities, Laurie agreed. I guess sometimes exposing problems leads to better solutions than covering them up. Hunter glanced at her, admiring the way sunlight played across her color-shifting skin. Is that journalistic wisdom or personal philosophy? Both, she replied. Much like your sarcasm is both defense mechanism and genuine personality trait. Speaking of which, Hunter said with mock indignation, I haven't made a sarcastic comment in at least 10 minutes. I'm losing my touch. Laurie's gills rippled with the equivalent of laughter. A concerning development indeed. Perhaps you are healing in more ways than physical. Hunter considered this as he watched the waves rolling toward shore. His ribs had finally knitted properly, leaving only a slight tenderness when he breathed deeply. His academic standing had been reinstated with probationary conditions he was actually meeting, and somehow he had stumbled into a relationship with a fascinating alien journalist who saw through his defenses and didn't mind what she found underneath. Hunter read the headline on a passing news feed. Interspecies competition adopts new slogan. Different species, different strengths. He couldn't help but smile. Took a few broken ribs to figure that out, he murmured,
but there was no bitterness in his voice, just the hard-won wisdom of someone who had finally stopped fighting his own healing process. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the water, Hunter noticed Laurie's skin changing to that now familiar purple pattern he'd come to look forward to. Maybe aliens had been right to find human healing fascinating after all. Just not for the reasons they initially thought.